This episode of the EuroPuck podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. The world of boxing has seen some great fights over the last few weeks, and as each punch is landed, the excitement just seems to keep growing. In fact, this weekend's event looks to be bigger than all the rest, as two of the sport's most respected fighters are stepping into the ring on Saturday night, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. For this weekend only, DraftKings Sportsbook is offering all new users the chance to turn a $1 bet into a $55 payout during the main event. To cash in on this great deal, all you have to do is place a $1 bet on either of the main event fighters to win this weekend's fight, and if they do it, you walk away with $55. It's not a bad payday, is it, folks? If boxing isn't your cup of tea though, don't you worry, as DraftKings has plenty of hockey and basketball tournaments too, so you can make it rain on whatever sport is your go-to. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN during sign-up to turn a $1 bet into a $55 payout during their exclusive deal this weekend. That's code THPN during sign-up to turn $1 into $55 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. A big thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring this episode. Hello, bonjour, hello, hi, heya, and privyet, hockey fans. Welcome back to the EuroPuck podcast, the show where two Brits talk all things European hockey as part of the Hockey Podcast Network, brought to you by DraftKings. My name is Hayden, or Oddman Rush, as you can see up there on the video version, and joining me once again, gonna give him a long-winded one this time, because I gave him a short one last week. It's the one, the only, the stats man, the guy that has to put up with me every single week, but at least I did my ad read right the first time this week, and last week. I'm on a bit of a roll. It's Chris Gadsby. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
How's it going?
Yes, not too bad. Still plugging away in the garden. I've had a good week this week, trying to sort out the Champions Hockey League qualifications, and then I've got a bonus extended length quiz for you this week as well, to try and stump you on more occasions than normal. And of course, everything's rounding down, but my team and your team as well had a great time over the weekend.
Indeed.
And which I know we'll come on to later. And yeah, we're getting into the crunch time of the leagues that are left. We've only got 4 leagues left.
Wow.
Around Europe.
That's crazy. The fact that we're so close to the end of the season, because obviously we've been covering all sorts of leagues across Europe pretty much since the 1st of September was when we started, and because obviously a lot of the leagues were postponed, so then they started slightly later, so their seasons ran later. But yeah, we're getting to the point where it's been a fair few months since we started this, and now we're at the point where we're coming towards the end of our first season of the EuroPuck podcast, which is crazy to think, but at least we've got the World Championships to look forward to at the end of this month, which will be fun. It's like, we're not quite done yet. We're really close, but we're not quite done yet. And obviously, there's the Stanley Cup playoffs to come over the next few weeks as well, because I think most teams only have 2 or 3 games left to play in the regular season, maybe 4 or 5. It's Wednesday today, isn't it? Wednesday, the 5th of May. Star Wars Day yesterday. For those of you who enjoy Star Wars, I do. I'm not like super into it, but like I watched the new show that they brought out on Disney Plus. That was pretty good. Quite enjoyed it. And it's my girlfriend's birthday today, so yeah, it's been pretty chill. I've got to record a video though, and I'm not quite sure where I'm going to find the time to do that. But that's neither here nor there with this. So yeah, it's the 5th, and we're going to talk about some European hockey, Chris, because like you mentioned, there isn't really that much to talk about in terms of the overall scope of European hockey, because like we've mentioned over the last few weeks, there's a lot of leagues that are finished now, aren't there?
Yeah, there are, and that's why I spent like hours coming up with this bumper quiz just to try and make the time a bit longer. And as you'll find out later on, I've got a great tie-in to the quiz this week as well. But yes, we've had another 3 leagues finished this week, so we've got another 3 to round up entirely, and then we've got 4 remaining, but they're all in the final now.
Yeah, so by this time next week, we probably could be done, which is Crazy. Yeah. Chris, we're going to have to have interesting conversations without stats in front of us. How are you going to cope?
Don't worry. Basically, I've planned the next 2 after this already. So don't you worry, my friend. Don't you worry.
Okay. Fair enough. See, Chris doesn't tell me this stuff before we start recording the podcast. So I hear it when you hear it. And it's all like, oh, exciting. Shall we get on with some scores and stats and stuff, Chris? We may as well. We're at that point, So let us start with the KHL. If I can bring it up, it should be appearing on the screen. It's not. That's fun. I'll get it up for you. I figured out why. It's because I didn't change it from my previous live stream. Here we go. Ooh. Boom. Right, there we go. I've got it up. We're fine, guys. It's the KHL.
Okay, cool.
So, pretty much there was only one more game left to play in the Gagarin Cup finals.
They'd played game 5 and Avangard were 3-2 up. And they played game 6 the day we recorded last week on Wednesday the 28th. So we kind of finished the recording and then went and watched Flash Scores, Free Sports here in the UK, to watch the game. Only one goal in this game, coming at 19:28 in the first period, just 32 seconds to go in the first period. And it went the way of Avangard Omsk, who won the game by 1-0 and won the Gagarin Cup by winning the series 4-2. Which is their first Gagarin Cup, I believe, as well.
Yes.
So great for Avangard Omsk. I know you did a video about it
indeed
over the weekend as well. So I'll let you give that a little bit of a plug in a few moments. But I watched the final 2 periods of this one after we'd finished recording, and it was a really good game. And Avangard, I just had this feeling that Avangard were just going to throw it away towards the end. The reason that I say that is they took 2 penalties 12 seconds apart from each other with under 5 minutes to go in the final period.
Okay.
So between 15:38 and 17:26 in the final period, they were defending a 5-on-3.
Oh, wow.
And they were just throwing absolutely everything in front of shots. There was one player, I can't remember his name, he took 3 pucks to the leg in about 20 seconds apart from each other, and proper slap shots as well, blocking it. He could barely get off the ice. But yes, Avangard Omsk winning in front of just shy of 2,500 fans, their first Gagarin Cup.
Yeah, I mean, and as we've been hoping for, the underdog gets their cup. So, congratulations to Avangard, obviously, for winning the cup. Several notable NHL alumni, like I mentioned in my video this last weekend. You obviously had Nail Yakupov, former first overall draft pick. Although he didn't play in the playoffs. You had Alexei Emelin, who didn't play in the playoffs but was the captain of the team, or co-captain. I believe he's having some medical issues, or had some medical issues, which sidelined him, as opposed to playing injuries. Ilya Kovalchuk wins his 3rd Gagarin Cup. He won a pair with St. Petersburg before going back to the NHL. Simon Hrubek, what a great performance for him in net, though. The netminder, like you mentioned, having to weather that storm on that 5-on-3 and, all of the players in front of him trying to get a solid box in front of him and, block the shots because, taking 3 slap shots to your leg. There's the Gagarin Cup final summed up, really. It's playoff final hockey, isn't it? You have to make those sacrifices.
It is, yeah. Yeah, and I think, as I said, a 25-shot shutout in that final game to secure the victory. But yeah, I think the shot blocking from Avangard in that final section was really, really strong. I actually only think about one got through to him.
Wow.
The shot blocking was just that good. And it was, I think it's one of these things where I think the adrenaline more than anything else, the heart rate must have been up at nearly 200 and the adrenaline pumping around the body at that time, knowing how close you are to something.
And to be honest, with the Avangard players, I can imagine the adrenaline was running even higher once they were given the cup as well. So it just goes to show how much it means to a lot of these players, because obviously a lot of NHL fans that are either based in North America or just purely NHL fans go, the KHL, it's not a very good league. There's a reason it's considered the 2nd best hockey league in the world. There's a reason a lot of NHLers that are kind of on the fringe of making it go to the KHL. There's a big reason why a lot of the future stars of the NHL come from the KHL, and players that play well over there are highly coveted in the NHL. Yeah, they don't always make the jump. The NHL is a better league. Nobody's disputing that at all. But especially when you consider a lot of these guys are Russian players, they're playing at home, in their home country, and they're winning their native country's, their homeland's greatest trophy. That means a lot to these players. And also,
I think
go for it.
I was going to say as well, I think the thing with ice hockey, and it's probably like one of the toughest in terms of the season is so long, like alongside basketball as well. The season is so long. I've just totted up here. So Avangard Omsk, that 6th game, final game of that series, was the 85th game of the season.
Oh, wow.
And I know that obviously like basketball has and obviously in a normal, obviously NHL and what have you and all the leagues over there, they do play more than that. But 85 games, and you consider it to something like football where it's a 46 game season.
Yeah.
85 games.
Yeah, it's a lot of hockey to play, and obviously they might have played preseason games and had several weeks of training camp beforehand, or they might have, and also considering the fact that they might not have played in 3 months or even 4 months if they didn't make the playoffs, and obviously the global situation and how confusing and strange that's been, like that hasn't helped either. So there's been a lot of things getting in the way. I think, there's always going to be the argument with some of the Stanley Cups and some of the awards that are won this year. It's like, but, because of the situation, they had to change all the rules or kind of adapt things. Oh, it wasn't like a real championship. The KHL, I think, is the best example of it, like being the most in that
full season.
Yeah, exactly. In kind of in that circumstance, very much like a legit season because they played pretty much the entire year. They were on schedule. Yeah, they had some COVID issues, but so is the NHL, as we've seen. So is the Liga. So is the National League. Like lots of different issues there. But yeah, it's really good to see that Avangard won their first Gagarin Cup. I love seeing a team win their first championship. There's always something special about that. And it's interesting that, as far as I'm aware, in the history of the KHL, I don't think a team has managed to win back-to-back Gagarin Cups yet, which obviously Moscow would have had the opportunity to do so had they beaten Avangard because they won the 2019 championship. So I'm not quite sure if that's 100% correct, but I believe that's correct.
I'll look it up.
We've had teams won like 3 in 2 years or something like that, or maybe not even that, because Akbars Kazan have won the most. But as far as I'm aware, there's never been in the KHL era. Go for it.
Let me just have a look. I was just checking them. So, it kind of. I was going to have a Dynamo Moscow back-to-back 11-12, 12-13.
Okay, fair enough.
Akbars Kazan won the first 2, 08-09.
Oh, okay. I'm completely wrong then.
in the KHL era anyway.
Yeah.
And then obviously it kind of doesn't really count, but obviously Moscow last year had the most points when it all got cancelled.
Yeah, but that doesn't count because it's not the playoffs.
So there's two that did it. And then of course, obviously when you get back into Soviet Union times, it was like CSKA Moscow.
Yeah, the Red Army team. Yeah, obviously. But so, ladies and gentlemen, that's why you do a bit of research before you come out with something really random.
That's why he has me here.
Exactly. I'm just here to talk and look pretty, So that's the KHL. There's only one more game left to play. There isn't really that much to talk about in it. And former Calgary Flames head coach Bob Hartley managed to get his Gagarin Cup, so he's very happy. And it's what we should keep an eye on over the next few weeks, Chris, is the KHL free agency, because that opened up on Saturday. I'm planning on talking about that in some detail in my video this weekend. So, so there's going to be a lot of players moving different places. The amount of players I've seen signing 2-year contracts, like everybody seems to be signing at least a 2-year contract. I'm not quite sure why that is, but, people like a bit of insurance. Shall we move on to the next league, Chris? Because I feel like we've said everything we need to say about the KHL.
Danish?
That is exactly what I was going to go with. The Danish Metaligaen, because that is the next league. Obviously, we're doing it in the order of who's the furthest through. So, the Danish Metaligaen, we have our Danish champions, and they are my boys, the Rungsted Sea Capitals. Do you want to take us through the end of the series, where we left off last week and how we got to where we are today, Chris?
So we left off last week with Rungsted leading by 3 games to 2. And then on Thursday of last week, we had the games 6, which needed overtime. I'll say that it needed overtime. So Aalborg took the lead at 2 minutes and 19 seconds in the first period, but that lead lasted 1 minute and 20 seconds before Rungsted tied it up. Rungsted then took the lead on the power play at 7 minutes into the second period, and then that lasted about 5 minutes before Aalborg tied it up. The third period, there was no scoring, so we went into overtime, where it only took 44 seconds of overtime before Rungsted managed to get the goal that not only won them the game, won them the series, won them the Danish league, and won them a Champions Hockey League spot for next season.
There you go. So the first seed wins both the league, the regular season, and the playoffs, and they go to the Champions Hockey League once again, which, I mean, I've got a Champions Hockey League Rungstead jersey now. I'm going to have to keep an eye on them. I feel like it's only fair.
Yeah.
The team gives me a jersey. I've got to follow them, you know? So obviously it was a typical example that we've seen throughout the European hockey leagues and the playoff standings throughout the last few weeks. First seed versus second seed, and in kind of scripted fashion, you know, the first seed takes it. You would hope that a first seed would be a legitimate contender, having finished first during the season. And considering they only lost 3 games during the entire postseason, it just goes to show you how strong of a team they were. To be fair, Aalborg, before the final round, had lost only 1 more game than Rungstead, so there wasn't really much between these two teams. Neither was there a huge amount of distance between them in the regular season as well, so it was very much the two best teams in the Danish Meta League in this season battled it out, and the team that finished first ended up winning the championship in the playoffs as well, so pretty decent end to that season.
Aalborg, they gave it a good go. If you remember when we were talking last week, they were 3-0 down in the series.
Yes, exactly.
Pulled it back to 3-2, and then Rungstead need overtime in game 6. So, you know, credit to Aalborg. They gave it a real good go to try and get back into it. But in the end, I think when you're 3-0 up in a series and you have essentially 4 chances to get over the line, I think, like, on the balance of probability, eventually in one of those 4 chances, it will come to you.
Absolutely. And it just goes to show, yeah, they might have slipped up a few times because, you know, it's easy for a team to get demoralised if they go 3-0 up, but they can't get through the final hurdle and go. They start to get frustrated and they maybe start to make more mistakes, or they don't recognise the opportunity that they've got to shut it down. And that would have been a perfect opportunity for Aalborg to jump in and tie the series up. And to be fair, it was a 1-goal differential from the series being a Rungstead victory or a Game 7. So, like you say, fair play to Aalborg. They gave it a good shot. They played well throughout the postseason up until that point as well. But unfortunately, they didn't have enough to beat Rungstead, which, considering they were the first seed, that's not something to be disappointed or feel ashamed of, you know? So, that's a look at the Danish Meta League. So the KHL, the Danish Meta League, both done for this season. God, we are really running out of leagues to talk about for these next few episodes, aren't we? Let's move on to one that will make Chris a very happy man, and that is the UK's Elite Series, the EIHL Elite Series, the Elite Ice Hockey League Elite Series, whatever you want to call it, that series with 4 British teams. So, the playoffs have taken place already, and the final is a very good result for Nottingham Panthers fans and Chris Gadsby. So I'll take you through the semi-final brackets once again. It was they did it via aggregate, didn't they? The semi-final series.
Yes.
So the Sheffield Steelers beat the 4th seed Manchester Storm to book their place in the final, and the 3rd seed Nottingham Panthers managed to upset the 2nd seed Coventry Blaze by winning the 2 games by an aggregate series. Both Sheffield and Nottingham took a pretty commanding lead in the aggregate. So it's very much like the two deserving teams made it, if you ask me.
The Nottingham and Coventry series, like, both teams tied on points at the end of the what I'll call regular season. Let's call it the round robin.
Yeah.
So, you know, they were 2 close teams. I think, you know, the Panthers, they put themselves in the driving seat when they got the shutout in the first game, and then when they were 2-0 up, and then they went into their home game and won by 4-1. Of course, when you go 2-0 up in the first leg, you then are forcing the other team, because the other team have got to come and chase you.
Yeah.
So it kind of leaves them open at the back, particularly then when in the second leg, Panthers take the lead in that game and go 3-0 up on aggregate 25 seconds into the game.
Yeah.
So then, you know, Coventry, they had a game of hockey essentially, but they had to score 4 goals. So they have to go chasing the game. And ultimately it does leave you open at the back because you press higher on the forecheck or whatever to then leave you open at the back. So Panthers were able to run out 4-1 victors in the second game and take a 6-1 aggregate victory. The other series, the Manchester Sheffield, was a lot closer. It was 5-4.
Wow.
To Sheffield in the first leg.
Yeah, that was a fun game. That looked like a really fun game.
Yeah, but then they turned it up. So 3 unanswered goals in the first period put them like 8-4 up on aggregate. Yeah. And then just the same thing again, like Manchester had to go chasing, and Sheffield, you know, they got a short-handed goal. So it did just kind of go, Manchester Coventry, they were chasing. And then you ended up with the rivalry that kind of everybody wanted, I suppose, in the final that a lot of fans wanted in Sheffield, Nottingham. And of course, Sheffield, who were before the hand, they were, saying, "Oh, we're supporting Coventry in the second leg," and all this, and people going, "Well, surely you want to beat the Panthers in the final, not have them not even get there."
Yeah.
And then it kind of didn't go that way, did it?
No.
We thought it was going to for a while. Sheffield 1-0 up at the end of the first period in game one. This was a best of 3 series.
Yep.
10 seconds to go in that first period. Robert Dowd on the power play scoring for Sheffield. But then whatever Tim Wallace said to his players at the end of the first period, it really helped because they came out fighting in the second period, scored 2 goals in the first 7.5 minutes to take the lead. Ultimately, they ended up going in at the end of 2 periods, tied at 3. The Panthers, again, a power play goal for Ollie Betteridge early on in the third period, and then an empty net goal at the end of the third period. Now, this is an interesting question I want to talk to you about, and perhaps, well, it was something that maybe you don't do in an aggregate score. Obviously, Sheffield going for the win. So I'll backtrack a little bit because I forgot that it was best of 3. But when you're on an aggregate score, if you're 1 goal down, do you pull the netminder? Because then it's really more likely you go 2 goals down.
That's a really good question. See, I was going to mention, I wanted to mention, once you were finished saying your piece, that I think a lot of, I've obviously talked about specifically NHL fans or North American hockey fans that only focus on the NHL or the big leagues in North America. I feel like the aggregate setup, I love the fact that we cover so many leagues because we get such a variety of the way that they're operated. So, the aggregate score lines and the promotion relegation for some of these leagues, it just makes the variety that there's available just makes it so much more exciting. And like you mentioned, games that have an aggregate series in that second game, if they were 2 goals down from that first game, they really have to come out swinging in the first 20 minutes of play if they want to, have the opportunity to kind of come back in the game and tie the series up and have the opportunity to succeed. But to answer your question, Chris, I think obviously if it's the second game of the aggregate series, I don't think you're going to pull the goalie because otherwise your season's over. In the first game, I guess it depends on the coach, and I think it very much depends on the context of how the teams are playing. Obviously, if some coaches might think that, okay, well, we need that extra attacker. If they've done a really good job of hemming their opposition in their own zone for either the final period of play, all game long, the final 5 minutes, they might decide, actually, let's get the goalie out because we've been so good at keeping the puck in the zone. We've got that 6th skater now. He can come and help us out and generate some more scoring chances. But on the flip side, some people might see the bigger picture and go, okay, would we rather risk it and potentially tie it up only to because they wouldn't do overtime, would they, for the first game because it's because it's 2-game aggregate.
For an aggregate, they wouldn't know.
Yeah, so exactly. Or go for it.
Obviously, I know coaches.
Yes.
So I have spoken to the Lions coaches, Matt Bradbury and Paul Glossop, and Matt has come back and said no. He wouldn't personally.
Yeah, I can definitely understand why. Because I mean, how you've also got to think, like you mentioned, the kind of probabilities, like the law of probability and everything. How likely is it that you score a game-tying goal to you being scored on in the empty net? It's more likely that you're going to be scored on. It's
more likely that you get scored on rather than get the game-tying goal.
Because there's 3 different eventualities from an empty net, right? The opposing team scores an empty net goal, you tie the game up, or you have the extra attacker, but the score doesn't change.
Yeah.
And in 2 of those 3...
Only one of those 3 options do you benefit.
Exactly, especially in a 2-game aggregate series. So, But then to move on to the final of the EIHL Elite Series, the first game went to Nottingham because they won it with the empty net goal 5-3. Do you want to just talk through the second and final game of that series, Chris?
Yeah,
then we'll have
the saying, it was best of 3. It was win or go home for Sheffield.
Yep.
And the Panthers, again, they came out kicking. 1 goal in the first period, 1 goal in the second period, put them 2-0 up. So Sheffield, they had 1 period they needed to score, 2 goals in the 20 minutes and then an overtime one. And they came out fighting. 157, Robert Dowd again, who keeps popping up in this series. as scoring goals, brought it back to 2-1. And I was talking to Chris Ellis actually on WhatsApp while I was doing that, and I sent at the end of the second period, same to you, and I said, if Panthers were to win this, they lost 4 out of the first 5 and then won 9 out of the next 11.
Which is very impressive.
Which is very impressive. And then 2 minutes kind of after that, Robert Dowd scored. He just sent one back saying, please tell me you didn't send that at 2-0. And I could just tell what was going to happen. And then, fortunately, a Robert Lakovic assist on a excuse me, on a Lewis Hook goal, give Panthers the 2-goal advantage again, and then Connolly brought it back to a 1-goal advantage again on the power play with just under 5 minutes to go, and I was there like, oh, this is what's going to happen here. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, that Panthers have been winning a lot of games. Obviously, as well as I do, getting the flash score updates, that in this series, what Panthers have been doing is going 3 goals up and then conceding goals. In the final period.
Yeah. The final few games against Sheffield during the during the regular season, like the final 2 games, I think these two teams played against each other. It's like, oh, the Panthers have gone 3-0 up. Wow, okay, that's decent considering Sheffield had a really good go of them early on in the season, the round robin or whatever. But then Nottingham are like, oh, you want us to throw this lead away and then have to chip it back again a little bit later? Go on then, why not? Yeah, very interesting. But yeah, so the Nottingham Panthers take the 2-0 game or series, win the Elite Series trophy. Obviously, it's not the Elite League trophy. It's not a real Elite League championship. I've got a few things I want to say regarding the Elite League. The kind of mini rants, but things I just kind of want to have a little chat about. So, first of all, because you mentioned Robert Dowd keep coming up. Considering he's going to be on the GB team, I'm loving to see him score. That's the one thing I really liked about whenever the Panthers, for example, were playing a team and their other teams, like British players, were playing really well. I was like, okay, this is good. This is what we want. We want our top players, whether they be on Nottingham, Sheffield, Manchester, Coventry, the ones that are going to be in the GB squad, we want them to go into the tournament, on a hot streak. So good. Yes, this is great. I don't care if the Panthers lose this game or they allow a goal. Let's do it. But secondly, 2 more things. Secondly, I found it really funny, the Sheffield Steelers response to all of it, because obviously they were very much they basically were like, oh, we're going to win this, we're the best team, and then they made the trophy seem so important because they were going to win it, and then when they didn't win it, it was kind of all the fans especially were like, oh, it's it's just a round robin tournament trophy, it's not a real trophy or whatever, which you can definitely make that argument. There are only 4 of the 11 teams taking part in it. The other thing, if this tournament has taught me anything, especially the final, I really hate sore winners. I really hate sore winners. Don't get me wrong.
Elaborate on this.
If Sheffield had won, they would have been just as unbearable. Most people, the general consensus of Panthers fans on Twitter after the trophy was won were like, yes, well done Panthers, go Panthers, congratulations guys, great win. Obviously, I don't know if you saw the clip of Bouncy talking to the commentators after the win, and obviously he's had a really difficult year with injuries and, going over to Austria trying to make his mark. He comes back, obviously wins the trophy, so you could tell it meant a lot to him to kind of get to the top of these 4 teams and finish the year strong, and obviously he's feeling good going into the GB training camp. But yeah, some of the Panthers fans were going onto the Sheffield Steelers tweets and rubbing it in, or just being and don't get me wrong, Sheffield have been doing that whenever they'd beaten Nottingham all season. But that doesn't make it right or cool or necessary. I don't understand what's wrong with people where they can't just be happy for another team winning.
I think the thing that jumps out at me with it is that what you've got to remember is that it was essentially a GB training camp.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a trophy on the line. Yes, you could tell from the highlights that I saw and the way that the Panthers players were the hook went back to the blue line. I think 3 Panthers players were sprinting out to try and get a block in it towards the end of the second game. It's obviously it means something to the players. Let's not get us wrong about that. But I think from a general fan base, and yes, I can see why the kind of teams are doing it, but let's not forget the bigger picture here. Yeah. And, if GB go and perform well at the World Championships, we can look back on this at a way of doing it. But trying to just provoke a response from people on social media, I think there's got to be a better way of doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you might not be able to say it, but I'm gonna do it. Like, the Sheffield Steelers are the prime example of that. Like, there's a lot that the Sheffield Steelers organization does right. I am a big fan of a lot of the things that the Steelers do. I think quite a lot of the stuff that they do, it far surpasses most, if not all, of the other elite league teams in the way that they operate and run, and obviously how they've managed to cultivate a really strong group of British players, like local players. But their social media presence is shocking, and we all know who's in charge of it, British hockey fans, if you're listening. I don't have anything against the guy personally. Like, I've never met him, you know? Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I hate him. Oh, he's terrible. There. Like, I've never met him. I'm sure he's a really chill guy to have a conversation with. He clearly really cares about the sport, and he cares about GB hockey. But at the same time, it's kind of like, can we, like, tone it down a little bit? It's a GB training camp.
You know what? I mean, it is a kind of twisted way of thinking, but it almost feels like, you know how, and you may not have this impression or not, but you know how, like, Joey Essex plays up to being dumb.
Oh, yeah. I think it's very much an act. Yeah.
Kind of diva.
Oh, of course.
I think kind of because he's got that bit of reputation, just plays up to it. And I think, you know, if he finds it funny and has a bit of a laugh with it, then that's fine.
Oh, for sure.
You know, he knows it will get a response. They just play up to it, which, you know, fair play to him for it.
And especially like a Nottingham-Sheffield rivalry, like that's when it comes out the most, right? Because, you know, it's the two big teams in the league, the two big teams in the country. And obviously, yeah, it's very much like exaggerated. Of course it would be, because, you know, it generates interest, it gets people talking, you know, it drums up interest for the showdown as well. Like that, but there's in my opinion, there could be potentially classier ways to do it, where you still have that poking fun, but you're not like going to a step where it either becomes a little bit too childish, or you're just like, really? Like, did you have to take it that far? Like, you don't need to make a comment about them every single time you tweet, or like every single time you play a game, you don't have to have a backhanded comment like afterwards or whatever. But anyway,
I mean, I'll take it away from that, but keep it with the elite series stroke elite league. Yeah. Today in particular, the Glasgow Clan have been all over social media today because of situations regarding their rink and the future. Because for anyone, their rink is kind of in a shopping centre, really. And so the company who kind of takes over it are looking to sell it, stroke gone bust. I've been trying to keep it as much on guard of it as much as I can.
There's been some sort of negotiations involved with an outside company by the sounds of it.
The general consensus is that the Glasgow Clan are looking to buy the arena.
Yes.
Which would be great if they could, but the problem at the moment is that if they are unable to do that, then they do not know what, if anything, they'll be able to put on the ice next season.
Yeah.
And if there will still be a team. So they have had to suspend all planning for next season for the moment.
Which really sucks.
Which does really suck, and are focusing entirely on trying to buy this arena. Now, there are two things to do with this, and neither of them are particularly great.
Yeah.
Number one, if they can't buy it and they can't play in it and they can't find anywhere else to play, then we don't have a Glasgow Clan team.
Yep.
And part two is that they might be able to buy it, but if they buy it and it only goes through really late on and then they struggle to get a team together, we might find a really difficult season for them next year. And I won't say it'll be like the Edinburgh Capitals, but they might find themselves having a really difficult season. Obviously, the best case scenario is that they can buy it and they do it relatively quickly and still have the time. But we'll keep our eye on that as well as things kind of go through. And then, we'll see in the coming weeks and next year if Glasgow, hopefully, of course, they can get a team onto the ice and are still playing out of the arena there in Braehead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm glad you brought up Edinburgh, because we know a rink that's available that's had some Elite League action, you know, in previous years. So, you know, if Glasgow need a rink, maybe just take the trip over to Edinburgh and use that as your home rink. I don't know. But at the same time, yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I kind of skimmed through the articles that I saw regarding it and kind of their official comment on it. And I believe that the talks the kind of discussions between the two parties have stalled somewhat over recent days, weeks, or whatever. So part of me thinks that kind of making it public is given a chance to kind of pressure the other group to not pressure the other group, but kind of speed the process up a little bit to be like, look, here's all the fans that really want this back. It's clearly a valuable commodity to the community and let's try and hash this out and get an on-ice product for next season. Obviously, they've kind of said that they're pausing their operations for next year, but obviously if they get it sorted within the next few weeks or month or whatever, they can be back on and playing like they usually do. So yeah, we hope so. Yeah. And to round off the other bit, I hate sore winners. I also hate sore losers, but I prefer a sore loser to a sore winner because at least they have something to whinge about. Anyway, let's move on to the German DEL. We've only got a few more leagues to look at, but we're looking at the leagues that are still running, but not long left to go by any stretch. So the DEL, the German DEL, last time we checked, they were in the semi-final stage, and it's a best of 3 series for the entirety of the German DEL. The semi-final, the North bracket was the Berlin Ice Bears, the first seed, against third seed Ingolstadt, and the Berlin Ice Bears took a 2-1 series victory and got their place in the DEL finals. First seed in the North. I'm not surprised. Then in the semi-final in the South, though, a lot more interesting. The first seed Adler Mannheim, and I think the best team in the regular season, Adler Mannheim, with the most points, went up against the third seed Wolfsburg Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies took a 2-1 series victory. So, in the DEL finals, we have the first seed Berlin Ice Bears of the North and the Wolfsburg Grizzlies of the South, who are the third seed. And funnily enough, Wolfsburg are 1 win away from the DEL championship, Chris.
They are, and that game 2 is starting in just under an hour's time as we're recording this. But yeah, I mean, you look at the Wolfsburg series in particular, they went 1-0 down in that series against Adler Mannheim. They lost the first game by 4-1, and then came back with a couple of 2-1 victories. That game 2 going to overtime as well. And that is, particularly in an elimination game when you go to overtime, it's score or go home.
Yeah.
And so that must have been great to have been a part of. But yeah, then they got themselves through into the final where they're up against, as you said, Berlin. They won the first game by 3-2. That one went to overtime, needed 18 minutes of overtime, that one, to find a winner. So maybe more of the same today. We'll see and find out, and definitely obviously get back to you next week when we record, because the DEL will be finished next week. So we'll see who wins the DEL and gets the final Champions Hockey League spot, because there's an either or in the DEL at the moment.
Interesting. Obviously, we're going to talk in more detail about the Champions Hockey League later on once we've looked through the final 3 leagues that we have to look at. But yeah, as Chris said, we'll know the final result of this series by this time next week, and that's going to be a trend for the final 3 leagues, I would imagine, that we've got to look at in this episode. So, next up, the Swedish Hockey League. They are now in their final also. The final is the Växjö Lakers against Rögle BK. So, first seed, second seed. I know, it's not the most exciting, but there it is. And the Swedish Hockey League, the final 2 rounds are a best of 5.
No, best of 7.
Oh, they're best of 7, are they?
The final is best of 7. The semi-final is best of 5.
Okay.
But the final is best of 7.
Okay, fair enough.
Växjö have taken the 2-0 lead.
They have indeed.
And game 3 is tomorrow. Game 4 is Saturday.
Okay.
So there is the potential that obviously if Rögle get those 2 wins at home and we go deep into this, they might not be done when we record next week.
True.
And it could be the one long lone standing league left, potentially. And, trust the SHL to probably be awkward and actually do that. But yes, they're both 1-goal victories as well for Växjö. They 2-1 in game 1 and then 3-2 in game 2. Game 2 needing overtime as well. We're seeing that a lot of overtime games needed, particularly when we get late into this, which is what you would expect. So I love this. Sweden's obviously, it says no spectators.
Yes.
Because they're in Sweden, there's currently no spectators, but there must have been some staff, because according to Flash Scores, the attendance was 8.
Hey,
which I kind of love about that. But yes, overtime needed in game 2, 4 minutes and 36 seconds of that required. And yeah, they take a 2-0 lead in this best of 7 final. So they would hopefully wrap it up before we record next week. I think looking by it, they should get like 6 games in before we record next week. So even if Rögle snatch a couple, it might be done.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it goes via the current trajectory, we might see a Växjö sweep in the final. So we could be done in a couple of days. We might be carrying on until next week. But just to round up the semi-final series, the Växjö Lakers took down the 6th seed Åbro in 5 games. It took the whole series to do it. It really sucks that Åbro didn't make it, but Växjö, they're showing in that final series that they deserve to be there nonetheless. And then the 2nd seed Rögle against the 4th seed Skellefteå, and they also went the distance in that series, with Rögle winning 3-2 in that series. So
really unfortunate for Åbro as well, because they were 2-0 down at the end of the first period. In the third period, they had a goal disallowed after video review at 9 minutes and 1 second. They then got one back at 12:25 to make it 2-1. So it could have been 2-2. And then there was an empty net goal at the end. So Åbro, it was the video review did them there. So
that sucks.
So unlucky for them. But, they can take a lot of credit from what they've done in this postseason particularly.
Absolutely. A very valiant effort for a 6th seed to go 1 win away from the SHL finals. That's very commendable. And who knows, if it was a 7-game series like the rest of them, they might have gone the distance and maybe snuck it out. So who knows? Right. Penultimately, we have the Finnish Liga, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
So interestingly, the Finnish Liga do the whole bronze, silver, gold medal system, similar to the Olympics and other tournaments.
Yeah, that 3rd place game is not very close. It's going on as we speak. They are, hang on. Yeah, so so the semi-finals, we'll do those first because the semi-finals started and finished since we recorded last week. So the semi-finals, you had the 1st seed Lukko against the 4th seed Tappara Tampere. And Lukko, it was 1-1 after the first 2 games, but then Lukko just turned it up really. They won the 3rd game by 4-1. And then in game 4, it was a closer game, just the 1 goal in it. And it was scored at 5:52 in the 3rd period. And they won by 1-0 in game 4 and won the series 3-1. TPS Turku, the 3rd seed, getting past IFK Helsinki. Despite the fact that Helsinki took the first game and went 1-0 up in the series, Turku then really turned it up to another gear and won the next 3 games straight, scoring 3 goals in each of those games to win the series by 3-1 and set up a final against Lukko. Again, it's the best of 5 in the Liga. So they're going. Game 1 is on Friday, game 2 is Saturday, game 3 is Monday. So that's another one that if it goes all 5 games, they could still be talking about that next week. And then the 3rd place game, which is a one-off game, is being played now as we're recording. It's Helsinki against Tappara. And whilst the game has still got 27 minutes to play, I'm going to call the game now.
Okay.
Because at 13 minutes in the 2nd period, the current score is Tappara Tampere 0, IFK Helsinki 7.
Wow. I would imagine it's very much like the 3rd place game in the Elite League, finals weekend. Because you're getting 3rd. Does it really matter? Not really.
Yeah. So Tappara have swapped their netminder.
Okay.
So far, after conceding, let me just have a look. 3 goals. Yeah, so he's conceded 3 goals from 4 shots in the 2nd period.
No.
And then 4 goals from 13 shots. And so he's conceded 7 from 17. And he's now been subbed out.
Wow.
A hat trick already for Jere Salien.
Okay.
Who's had so it's not going well in that 3rd place game, but I think I say IFK Helsinki, even though there's just under half the game to go. I think I'm going to call it now, to be honest.
You never know, Chris. There might be an 8-goal comeback in the last 27 minutes. Got to average.
I'll keep my eye on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That could easily go double digits.
Oh,
really,
yeah.
So
it feels like watching the New York Rangers play the Philadelphia Flyers this season, and I'm all for it. Right, let's look at our final league, which is the Swiss National League. Obviously, the final of the Finnish Liga hasn't actually started yet, so there isn't too much to talk about in that final series. So, the semi-finals of the Swiss National League were as follows. The 1st seed, EV Zug, taking on the 10th seed, Rapperswil Jona Lakers. It's a best-of-5 series, best of best of 5
best
series.
of 5.
And Zug took 3-1 over Rapperswil. So unfortunately, the 10th seed didn't make the National League playoff finals, which Chris and I were really hoping for, but we're not allowed nice things apparently. And then in the other bracket, we had the 6th seed Geneva Servette HC taking on the 5th seed Zurich Lions, and a sweep for Geneva Servette. So in the final, we have the 1st seed EV Zug, which I don't think anybody's surprised to see them there, given how much they dominated the regular season, and the 6th seed Geneva Servette HC. So all of the teams above them in the standings included HC Lugano, who was eliminated in the quarterfinals. There was Fribourg Gotteron, who were eliminated by Geneva Servette in the quarterfinals. There was also Lausanne and Zurich, who were both eliminated, one in the quarterfinal, one by Geneva in the semi-final. So Geneva Servette has had to take on some of the better teams in this league, and they've managed to take all of them down, not losing that many games, all things considered. And now they're going up against EV Zug, although they are 1-0 down in that series.
They're 1 game down. Game 2 is tonight. But even with that one game, it was only a 1-0 game. It wasn't, Zug didn't blow them out of the water. So don't be surprised if Servette get to a win or two in this series, because they more than matched. In fact, they outshot Zug.
Wow.
35-29. So fair play to the Zug netminder there on a 35 shot shutout. But yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if Servette got a goal or two in this one, and of course winning that again will not only give them the championship, but also the Champions Hockey League spot, which I believe we'll come on to now.
Indeed, yes. I feel like this is the most perfect point to mention it, because we have run out of leagues to talk about. So, Chris, Champions Hockey League, talk to us.
Yes. So, there are 2 spots remaining in the Champions Hockey League, and we have had plenty of news from the Champions Hockey League in this past week. Noticeably, that the Slovakian wildcard is not in the Champions Hockey League for the next season coming up. It is instead gone to HC Donbass from Ukraine, who, from what I understand on social media, are in a bit of a kind of kerfuffle with their own. Slovakia were in a bit of a kerfuffle, and it's all. But anyway, Donbass are into the Champions Hockey League in place of Slovakia. Skellefteå from the Swedish Hockey League have also qualified. That is as a result of the final being between Växjö and Rögle, who have both already qualified. So Skellefteå, as the 5th place side in the regular season, get the spot there.
Yep.
And also, as we said earlier on, thanks to that final game in Denmark, you've got the Rungsted Sea Capitals have made it as well. So we now have 30 of the 32 teams in the Champions Hockey League for next season. We have 2 more spots. We have 1 spot from Switzerland, which is either going to be Genevieve Servette if they win that playoffs, or it's going to be Zurich as the 5th place side in the regular season.
Okay.
We've also then got 1 spot to go in the DEL, which is either going to be Wolfsburg if they win that series, or Bremerhaven as the 4th place side in the regular season. So they're both either ors, but it's one of the 2 things. It's one of those 2 teams in each of the things. What's interesting is they have set a date for the group stage draw, which is going to be at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock Central European.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would imagine it was Central European.
That's going to be 5 o'clock time for us. Yep. On Wednesday, May the 19th. So would you like us to do a live Europuck podcast for the Champions Hockey League group draw? Because I'm very much up for that.
I think that would be great. That could be our episode, essentially.
That's what I was thinking. I said I planned ahead.
Yes,
that's what I was thinking. So if you want us to do a live group stage draw, because I'm very much up for that.
Absolutely.
Then we'll do that. So this is the interesting thing, is that, and I will preface this as well by saying I have contacted the Champions Hockey League for clarification on this point that I'm about to mention, and they are yet to respond to me.
Don't they know who you are, Chris? You're Chris Gadsby.
if they do respond, then I shall let you know.
Of course.
But they are doing the draw slightly differently this time around.
So what was the draw like beforehand?
The draw beforehand was 32 teams split into 8 groups of 4.
Right.
Different pots. And different pots. So the top seeds don't come up against each other, like basically any sports draw.
Yeah.
But because there are countries participating in the final Olympic qualifiers, teams from those countries are being separated and put into a separate pot 5, which has different group stage playing dates to everybody else to avoid a clash with the final Olympic qualifying.
Got you.
Now, in pot 5, there's no... So these are teams from the Ice Hockey League, because of Austria.
Yep.
And then France, Norway, Poland, Denmark, and it was going to be Slovakia.
Okay.
And that gives you 8 teams drawn into 2 groups of 4 with no league protection at the draw. If you remember, normally in the draw, teams from the same country can't be against each other in the group stage.
Yes.
In this, that's not possible because you've got 3 teams from Austria and 2 groups.
Yeah.
So there's no league protection from the draw. Then obviously Slovakia went away and Ukraine have come in. Now the Champions Hockey League has updated the article and Ukraine is now in this pot 5.
Yes.
What I am wondering is why Ukraine, who aren't involved in final Olympic qualifying, are in this pot 5, and yet Belarus, who are in final Olympic qualifying, have to go into the main draw with the playing dates the same that clash with that weekend.
Yeah, that's very interesting. You would think that obviously, based on like what you said, you'd have Belarus in pot 5, and then Slovakia take their the place that Belarus currently reside in, right? That would be the ideal way to solve it.
That's what you would think. I mean, it doesn't work brilliantly because the Continental Cup winners are from Denmark.
Yeah.
And they are also in pots 1 to 4 at the moment, because if you tried to get everybody in final Olympic qualifying into this special pot, you'd end up with 9. So it's not going to work. So someone somewhere is. So according to the CHL website, Belarus is the highest ranked challenger league. So whether that's got something to do with it or what, I don't know. But as I said, they haven't got back to me to tell me.
Belarus are the highest ranked challenger league?
Yeah.
Really?
And then the UK is the second highest
Nah,
ranked
we should be top. We should be top. Come on, give us a team against Belarus. We'll beat them.
Have a look at the. Let me just have a look at the league rankings. See how we are doing. We kind of shot up the league ranking, thanks a lot to the Panthers getting out of the group stage a few years ago. Although we did do really well last year as well. Belarus are on 175 points and we're on 148.
Oh wow, there is a big gap then.
Crucially, next year, the 20 of their points gets cut off.
Oh wow.
And then obviously the points all shimmy down. So
yes,
they lose 20 points from
their ranking.
They lose 5 points from their ranking because it's only worth 25%, but it will come closer.
Right. Okay.
But yes, we're the second ranked highest challenger league. It makes sense to me on the screen.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take second best. I'll take second best.
So yes, we've got so the group stage is in a fortnight today as we're recording this, and we've got 2 teams left to go into it. Once they know who is definitely in, they'll sort the seedings out and all the rest of it. But then, I'm very much up for a live Champions Hockey League draw for the Europuck podcast.
That sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm sure I'd need to obviously double check that our YouTube channel can do live streaming. I'm not sure if there's a certain what's it called, milestone that you have to hit or something. I'd have to double check.
No, you just have to like verify it, because I did it for the Lions.
Yeah, I've already done that. Okay, sure. Perfect. Great.
Yeah, it should be, but we'll check ahead of time.
Great. So that's the news on the Champions Hockey League. We've got, a few more teams, German team and a, did you say Finnish team?
Switzerland.
Swiss team. German and Swiss team.
The Swiss team and the German team.
And then once that's done, we'll have our 32 teams. Obviously, Cardiff are taking part in it. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Cardiff do, considering their team hasn't actually played in well over a year. But anyway, regardless, Chris, I think it's time to finish up with a quiz. We don't have anything else to talk about, do we?
No, I feel we've covered everything. It's a quiz. Right. Okay. So it's a longer quiz.
Okay.
So
how many questions?
Today is 16 days until the start of the IIHF World Championship.
Way, go GB.
There's also 16 teams taking part in the World Championships.
I wonder how many questions there are going to be in this quiz.
I think you can see where this is going.
There's 12, right?
I have got you one question for each country.
Oh, okay.
Taking part in this series, IIHF World Championships. And because I'm feeling nice, I'm going to let you choose the country each time you want to answer the question on. So if you want to get up a list of the countries taking part...
I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah, on the IIHF. And then you can pick the countries that you want to... Well, the order in which you want to answer the questions on the countries. And I'll keep a tally of how you're doing.
Okay. IHF World Championships 2021. Right. Okay. I feel like we should go by like the rankings of the teams or something like that. That could be
if you want to do it that way.
I'm going to. You see that Gerard Gallant was named the Canada head coach, which is a pretty good pickup. And the Russian jerseys look really interesting. I've just caught wind of them.
I was going to say about that. Yes,
very interesting. I quite like them though. I'd be curious to see how they look on the ice. Right, I'm just getting up the teams now. Okay, right, I've got all the teams. Okay. Let's go. Right, I'm going to start with an absolute banger, Chris. I want to start with Kazakhstan, please.
Kazakhstan,
yes,
right.
Please.
Okay, so Kazakhstan is the only one of the 16 nations in this year's World Championships to not have hosted the competition in its 101-year history, because they were promoted a couple of years ago, and last year, obviously, it didn't happen.
Yes.
How far within 100 miles are the team having to travel to Riga?
How far within 100 miles?
Within 100 miles, and I would tell you this, that I have done this from the Kazakhstan capital city of Nur-Sultan.
Okay. So is the distance within 100 miles, or I have to guess it within 100 miles?
No, you have to guess within 100 miles.
Okay.
And I'll give you it if you get within 100 miles of it.
So Kazakhstan and Latvia. I'm not very good at geography. Well, it's obviously not going to be a huge distance because they are relatively close. It's not as if we're talking like France and Latvia. We're talking Kazakhstan, Latvia. I'm going to say that the distance is... I'm either going to be really far off or I'm going to get it close, but not quite close. I'm going to say 2,500 miles.
1,921.
Okay, I wasn't that far off, all things considered.
That far off, but not close enough. So, next team then.
Right, let's take a look at the next team. I would like to go for Belarus, please, Chris, for $400.
Okay, and Belarus were promoted to the World Championships in 2019 after finishing second in Division 1 the year before.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to know is, when was the last time they were in the top tier of the tournament?
When was the last time that Belarus played in the top tier? I feel like it's got to be like during the Soviet era or something, right?
So they were promoted to the World Championships after finishing second in Division 1 in 2019. When was the last time they were in the top tier of the tournament?
1980.
No. 2018. They were relegated and bounced back at the first attempt.
Oh, okay. Well, fair play to them. Nice job, Belarus. You should have asked me the question, were Belarus set to host the World Championships this year? I would have been like, yes. Why didn't they? Because look at our entire catalogue of videos on our YouTube channel and you'll know. Let's go Italy next, please, Chris.
Italy. Yep, we'll go Italy. Okay, so Italy survived in the World Championships last time they were played by beating Austria on penalty shots in the final game of the World Championships. How many penalty shots did they need to take to get the victory?
7.
Yes, it was 7.
Was it actually 7?
It was actually 7. You said that with such conviction, I thought you knew the answer.
There you go. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I had no clue, but I thought if I say it confidently, I'll throw you off, and I might even get it right. There you go, ladies and gents. 7. If you're confident, you'll achieve anything.
Sean McMonagle scoring the game-winning shot.
Oh, okay. Nice. So we've had Kazakhstan, we've had Italy, we've had Belarus. I feel like we've got to go Denmark next, please, Chris.
Denmark. Okay. So Denmark have consistently been in the World Championships now since 2003.
Nice.
After they won Division 1 in 2002. However, they've never threatened the top sides and haven't come close to getting a medal. What is their highest place finish in the tournament?
So did you say they haven't come close to the gold medal?
They haven't come close to getting a medal.
Okay, right. So their highest finish. So there are 16 teams, aren't there? So the highest finish I'm going to say is 6th.
8th.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 9th was my other choice.
They finished there on 2 occasions. They lost to Sweden in the quarterfinal in 2008. And they lost to Finland in the quarterfinal in 2006.
Very educational, these, Chris. I like it. Let's move on to Norway, please.
Yeah, these took me ages to find because I wanted to make them different. I didn't want them to all kind of be the same.
Yeah.
Right. It's fair to say Norway doesn't have the pedigree that its other Nordic nations have.
Yes.
The only Norwegian player in the NHL at the moment hasn't played for his country since 2016. Who is he?
The Norwegian player. That is Matt Zuccarello, is it not?
Correct.
Boom.
It is
former
Matt
New York
Zuccarello.
Ranger.
Yeah, I thought, being a former Ranger, you might get that one.
Absolutely.
I'll not ask you about the Rangers Capitals game because you'll be on a 20-minute rant.
That was an interesting thing. You know they're playing again tonight, right?
Oh, that's going to be interesting, isn't it?
I am very curious to see what happens in that game. Don't get me wrong, it was a nasty hit. I agree that Tom Wilson should have been suspended for it. I think some people being like, oh, he almost killed him. Okay, let's calm down a little bit. Obviously, he didn't have a helmet on, was slammed to the ice, pulled his hair. Tom Wilson shouldn't have done what he did. He acted like an arse. Getting fined $5,000 for it. Ridiculous. Let's go for Great Britain, please.
Great Britain. Okay, so we all remember the overtime goal that meant GB stayed in the World Championships when they beat France, coming from 3-0 down at the halfway stage.
Yes.
Who scored the overtime goal?
Oh, is that Robert Farmer?
No.
Oh no, the overtime goal. The overtime
goal. Robert Farmer.
He scored the game tying goal, or
Robert Farmer scored the goal against Hungary to send us up. Yes. If you remember, to the World Championships, then got the game time goal. It was Ben Davis at 62.03.
Yes, that's it. My bad.
Okay, next.
Next, let's go with Latvia. Yeah, I haven't done Latvia, have I?
Latvia. Okay. Latvia last hosted the competition in 2006. Out of the 16 teams involved, where did they finish?
14th.
No, 10th.
Oh, okay.
They
Fair
beat
play.
Norway and Slovenia and tied with the Czech Republic.
Oh, well, wow. Okay, that's a pretty decent finish for Latvia then. Nice job. Let's go Slovakia next, please. I haven't done Slovakia, have I?
Slovakia. No, you haven't. It was a thrilling end to the 2002 World Championship final with Slovakia and Russia tied at 3 goals each with just 2 minutes to go in the final period. Peter Bondra, a Washington Capital, got the game-winning goal. He was, of course, only able to go because the Caps failed to make the playoffs. How many points away from the playoffs were the Washington Capitals that year?
Oh, I've got to say 1.
It was 2.
Oh, wow. Jeez, that's
Can you imagine,
rough go.
If they won one more game and some of the Slovakians couldn't go, they might have not got that gold medal.
Referencing the New York Rangers again, I don't know if you remember, it might have been a little bit before you became a fan, because it was for me as well. I think it was the 2009-10 seasons, roughly that kind of time. The Philadelphia Flyers and the Rangers, it came down to a shootout in the final game of the season to decide which of them would go to the playoffs. And Philadelphia won. How, heartbreaking is that to miss out by a shootout goal to go to the playoffs? Let's go for Germany now, please.
Germany. Now, I found the German one the most interesting. And you may like this one and may want to do a video on it in the future.
Okay.
We'll see. So, 2 silver medals are the best Germany can claim. including in 1953 with quite a strange World Championships.
Okay.
At the previous year's Olympic Games, Swiss president of the federation, Fritz Kratz, declared we don't want to see Canadians and Americans.
Oh,
he
wow.
was outraged because he was outraged by the hard game played by them at the Olympics.
Okay. When was this again? Sorry, the 50s?
1953.
Right. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yep.
The Soviet Union also didn't play, so it was a 4-team World Championships.
Wow. Okay.
Excluding the junior tournament because Switzerland had a B team that played like Great Britain and stuff, but they classed that as the junior tournament.
Of course.
What was even stranger is the Czechoslovakian side were ordered home because their president was about to die from pneumonia that he picked up at Stalin's funeral.
Whoa!
So the games against Czechoslovakia were declared null and void. So only 3 teams took part in this World Championships.
Oh my God!
Sweden got gold, West Germany got the silver, and which bordering nation to West Germany, to Germany now as it is, got bronze, losing to West Germany in the final game by 7-3.
That is the most nuts World Championships I've ever heard of.
There may be a more nuts one, but that one just jumped out at me when I was researching.
Because obviously there's some like really crazy ones back in the day, like obviously in the junior tournaments, the punch up in Piastani and all of that stuff. That was a junior one, obviously, but yeah, that's crazy. That's so crazy.
So 3-team World Championships.
Wow. I'm gonna say France.
Switzerland.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Because you said West Germany to begin with, so I was like, okay, so it must be the Western Germany. But no, okay, no, nice one. Right. Speaking of Switzerland, let's do them next.
Switzerland, okay. Only Sweden has hosted the World Championships more often than Switzerland.
Okay.
The Swiss have hosted on 10 occasions. Out of those 10 occasions, how often has Switzerland got any medal in front of their own fans?
10 occasions, you say?
There's been 10 occasions they've hosted. Out of those 10, how many times have they got a medal?
Ooh, that's a good question. 4.
5.
Oh, I was going to go 4 or 6. So I would have got it wrong either way.
You got 4 bronze medals in 1928, 1939, 1948, and 1953.
Okay.
And a silver medal in 1935.
Well, there you go then. The Swiss, they know how to play pretty well. They're 50% in their home ice, so not too bad. Let's go for the United States next, please. USA.
United States. Okay, so it's kind of it's quite a misconception. USA is one of the strongest ice hockey nations on earth. For example, when was the last time they won the gold medal?
Oh, that's a good one. The last time they won a World Championship gold medal we're talking about,
World Championship gold medal, yes.
Oh, I feel, World Championship gold medal. I'm going to say that I have no knowledge of this. I haven't done any prior research or anything about the World Championship, so this is why a lot of my answers are off. I'm going to say like 2005?
1960.
Oh my, really?
For context, in the last 20 years, the Czech Republic, Canada, Sweden, and Russia have won more gold medals at the World Championships than America has in the last century.
That's ridiculous. Now, obviously, an element of that is the USA has a lot of their players in the playoffs, especially like the more recent examples. But even still, like, wow. It just goes to show you that, like, the NHL is obviously a force. And from kind of the last time they won the gold medal, it's become a lot more European involved. But also the fact that, you know, different size rinks, different playing styles hasn't necessarily quite fit the US style, which is really interesting.
Yeah, so the United States, they won in 1933. That was their first gold medal when there were 12 teams taking part.
Okay.
And then they won in 1960, as I said, when the Winter Olympics counted as the World Championships.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Very
so
interesting.
It was a Winter Olympic gold medal that then also doubled up as the World Championship gold medal.
Right, okay.
For reference, so the United States have got 19 medals in their 70 participations in the World Championships. For context, Great Britain have a greater medal to participation ratio than America does.
Yes, GP. Always knew we were better.
So USA, as I said, have got 19 medals.
Okay.
Sweden have got 47.
Oh my word.
The Czech Republic and Czechoslovakia 46, Canada 50, and then Russia, Soviet Union 47.
It's very interesting that Canada does well across the pond, but the United States doesn't. Obviously, the Olympics are a different conversation. So we've only got about 5 left to go. Let's go with the Czech Republic, please. I haven't done the Czech Republic, have I?
No, you haven't done the Czech Republic. The Czech Republic last won the World Championships in 2010, with Jágr assisting on the opening goal of the final against Russia. Can you tell me how many seconds that opening goal went in at?
12.
20.
Oh, okay, wow.
Scored by Jakub Keplis.
Nice. Okay, I've been really interested. I took a brief look and did a bit of research into the first and only Olympic gold medal that the Czech Republic's won. I want to make a video on that. I think it was 1998, I believe. Basically, none of their scorers finished in the top 11 in the entire tournament in scoring. Dominik Hasek basically put on an absolute show and stole the gold medal for the Czechs. It's the only gold medal that either them or I think even Czechoslovakia have won. So
something interesting that I've found just going back to America. Since the introduction of the playoff rounds in 1992, the USA have never made the final.
Oh my god! Wow, they're really not that good in the World Championships. Wow. Maybe this year's different. Who knows? Right, let's look at Finland, please.
Finland. Okay, let me find them. Finland are the current defending champions.
Yes.
Triumphing over Canada 3-1 in the final. In the 10 games that Finland played, how many goals did they concede in the tournament?
Oh, wow. I'm going to say 15.
Oh, 16.
Ah, close.
Interestingly, Russia finished third in the tournament and they only conceded 13 goals.
Wow.
And it was Finland that knocked them out in the semi-finals by 1-0.
Nice, fair play. Let's go Sweden next, please.
Sweden. Which Swedish player was the top point scorer in the 2019 World Championships, despite the fact Sweden got knocked out in the quarterfinals?
Oh, Lord. I'm going to kick myself, aren't I, with this one?
Yes.
Which Swedish player? Was it Mika Zibanejad?
No, it was William Nylander.
Ah, right.
5 goals and 13 assists.
Wow, that's a solid performance. Jeez.
So you have Russia and Canada
Yes,
left.
so penultimately, let's go Russia.
Russia, okay. So, you mentioned it briefly earlier. There is a ban on Russia competing in international sports, as we know.
Yes.
And they are going to be referred as the ROC in the tournament, which is Russian Olympic Committee.
Okay, so
and they've had new jerseys designed to comply with the rules, which you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
There's all sorts of rules.
So that's why they've had the new jerseys. Okay, interesting.
Yes, because the ban on Russia competing means they can't be called Russia. There can't be the Russian flag on there anywhere. There are a bunch of rules.
I'm not going to lie. I'm surprised they're still actually enforcing that. I thought that would have been gone ages ago, but what do I know?
So Russia's had a turbulent time of things in the past too. According to the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, who won the 1992 Olympic gold medal?
Well, it's not going to be known as Russia. Because that would have been the easy answer. And I know you don't like to give me easy questions. I would imagine it's obviously going to be the former states of the Soviet Union or something along the lines of the former Soviet Republic or something. Let me know. What is it?
You get a bit, yeah. So it was called the Commonwealth of Independent States.
Interesting.
And it was a team made up of all the former countries of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
That were kind of together in a team called the Commonwealth of Independent States.
Okay.
Now, interestingly, the IIHF says that Russia won the Olympic gold medal in 1992. And the IOC say, no, it's the Commonwealth of Independent States. Now, I'll let you have cast your opinion on this. So the team made up of players from the countries that were part of the Soviet Union,
right,
contained 20 Russians.
Got it.
1 Lithuanian.
Wow, okay.
And 1 Ukrainian.
Right. I would have called it I would have called the team Russia and Friends.
But the IOC says that it wasn't a Russian national team, so it's not a Russia Olympic gold.
Which is that's a fair argument to make. Yeah, if the team isn't completely filled with Russians, then it's not a Russian team, it's a Russian and other people team. So I can understand that, and obviously because the fall of the Soviet Union at the time, there was still a lot of upheaval and politics going on. Interesting. That's really interesting. The fact that a team, and did you say that they won gold?
They won gold, yes.
Wow.
20 Russians, 1 Lithuanian, 1 Ukrainian, and so the IIHF say, well, it was Russia, and the IOC say, no, it was Commonwealth of Independent States.
So technically, the Commonwealth of Independent States has won more gold medals recently than the US. Right, and last but by no means least, Chris, give me Team Canada.
Okay, the last time Canada took home the gold medal was 2016.
Wow, okay.
Which star of the NHL got the game-winning goal at 11:24 of the first period, assisted by Matt Duchene? The other line mates were Cody Ceci, Michael Matheson, and Brad Marchand.
I gotta go Sidney Crosby.
Connor McDavid.
Was it Connor McDavid? Wow, that was literally his second year in the league. That's crazy.
So, out of those 16 questions,
I did not do very well.
You scored 2.
Some of them I was like one thing off. So you know, like
and the only one you actually knew was the Norwegian one about Matt Zuccarello, because the Italian penalty shots you just took a punt and got lucky.
Yeah, but I was confident about it, so it seemed like I knew what I was talking about. Yeah, and I think on that note, that was a really good quiz, Chris. I really enjoyed that. Nice job.
Thank you.
I think this is a really good place to end today's episode. So yes, that was this week's Europuck podcast. If you want to keep updated on all things Europuck podcast, if you want to let us know about your thoughts, questions, opinions, anything like that from today's show or for our next show, you can follow us on either Twitter or Instagram at Europuck Podcast. And if you enjoyed listening to either of your hosts today, or either or both, hopefully both, because we're both here, then you can follow myself on Twitter at OddmanRushYT or Chris at Chris_Gadsby, right over there. And thanks for either listening, watching, whether it was the audio version or the YouTube version. We do appreciate you stopping by for the last 75 minutes and checking us out. And we'll see you again next time.